Hello, everybody.
Hi.
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 Hello. Good to see
Exciting to
you guys.
see everyone to get things kicked off, I guess. We are talking about GXC Live 2026,
Let's go.
yes, which is going to be absolutely fantastic. And I guess to get things kicked off, so how's it going between you guys? What's this partnership that has been announced?
Oh my gosh, we're so excited at Mobilize Recovery because for a long time we felt that to really, take on the addiction mental health crisis, we need to stop working in silos and being able to bring providers and medical experts together with advocates who are on the ground, who are running NGOs and recovery community organizations and who work in overdose prevention. Get them in the same room, the same convening to share uh, uh, their learnings and have peer learnings, but also their vision, for how we move forward. I think it's transformational. It's been
Mm.
a goal of ours at Mobilize Recovery since we started it in 2018 to have, this exact type of opportunity. And finally in 2026, thanks to High Watch and Global Exchange, we're able to make it happen. So we are thrilled.
And for us, I mean, there's two kinds of people in this world, those that talk about getting stuff done and those that actually do it. And Ryan Hampton is the latter. I just had an experience with him last week when the administration cut a bunch of the SAMHSA grants, and I was texting with him at 11 o'clock at night, and he was rolling out the advocacy playbook. And I think he was on CNN within, 8 or 9 hours, and the administration reversed course in less than 12. So, if you want to get something done on these advocacy issues around recovery and treatment and prevention and harm reduction, you just can't do better than Mobilize and Ryan.
Yeah. And
Ryan
being
gets
able,
it done.
Well, and being able to grow that network, right? Because
Mm.
there's so much more we need to do. I mean, I think what we just experienced in the past week is just a preview of how delicate, things are. And I said something over the weekend, that if it showed us anything, and this wasn't just for advocates, I think this was for providers, folks
Mm.
were really shaking in their boots. Last week was just a terrifying display of how our entire system, when it comes to substance use and mental health, is brought together by duct tape and the goodwill of really exhausted people,
Mm.
and there's so much work that needs to be done. So I think that, bringing these two organizations together for such an important convening is timely and relevant in 2026.
Yeah,
And
that's
I'll just
huge.
add, whether it was the the boom back, I mean, the boomerang back was from everywhere, from both sides of the aisle, from communities. I talked to somebody who's actually, very politically conservative, but they were also a veteran, and they were going to shut down this person's veteran court in their town, and they were outraged. So we have so many great programs and responses and interventions that are kind of knit together. And I was actually quite amazed at how quickly the entire country mobilized to
Mm.
reverse that decision.
And thank God. Thank God.
Mm.
Yeah.
It gets done with the people
Hmm.
and doing people, just like Mr. Ryan Hampton. Okay, so I'm going to switch it to a more kind of personal question towards you. So I'll kick it off with Ryan. What does recovery movement mean to you? What does that?
I am, so to be completely transparent and honest, I'm still figuring that question out myself. I think
I
it,
love that. Thank you.
because well, no, it has changed and has evolved. I think if you were to ask, what the recovery movement meant to me, 10 years ago and what it means to me today, they're completely different answers.
Mm.
I think the history of the recovery movement is quite solid, but also has evolved with time.
Mm.
I think that we're entering kind of a next frontier for the recovery movement. I'd say just at basics, though, I come from community organizing. I see it much more than just storytelling, right? And
Mm.
sharing your recovery story. I see it as active change and participation in one's community to make sure that policies support those who are in and seeking recovery, and a broad definition of recovery too, both in terms of substance use and mental health.
Mm. Andrew.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it's kind of a living community that's at its core, about people helping people, where lived experience and humility and service matter as much as, any clinical intervention. I think it's values based. Um, and for me, it's got abstinence and accountability and personal responsibility, which I think are key components of any self-awareness or recovery. I think it looks to time-tested pathways, but is also open to compassionate harm reduction that keeps people alive and engaged and connected to care. To echo a little bit what Ryan was saying before, I mean, I think it rejects false binaries and unnecessary turf wars, and more focuses on dignity, honesty, and hope. It's about hope. But it's a moral commitment to meet people where they are and tell the truth about what works and ensure that no one's excluded from, the possibility of a better life, in all its forms, if possible. So it's a big, wide circle.
It's so wild because I feel like when I was growing up, especially being British, it was just something that just almost didn't exist or was talked about or shut down and then it kind of turned into an understanding for me where, it was dirty or you don't interact or I don't know. And then I feel even in the past kind of 5, 10 years, it's just opened up a whole new conversation and me being able to talk to the next generation. I go around and talk at some schools, but also to like nieces and nephews. There's such a more cozy understanding in a way. So I think it's definitely
I just thought of this too, but anybody that's heard, Patrick Kennedy speak, he talks about
mm,
us in terms of being like the least powerful, largest group of people that all care about the same thing. But I think last
yeah,
week we kind of put that theory to the test because everybody came together in one voice.
unbelievable, all the shared experience. So I kind of want to ask you guys, what do you think is missing in how recovery is talked about?
Oh,
Putting you on the spot here.
yeah, action that meets the
Mm,
words, not on the part of the people with lived experience, but on the part of policymakers and others who make decisions about the recovery community. I believe that there's a lot of rhetoric and there's a lot of talk, but not necessarily action that matches the words.
and well, what would that action look like?
Well, I mean, I think it should be as easy to get treatment as it is to, go to the barber shop in the
Mm,
United States, or going to a hospital room, when you've got a broken leg or something. I think it's still, treatment is still very inaccessible to most Americans, and there's still I think despite um, a lot of the talk around stigma, there's still a lot of work to be done around stigma. I'm actually going to
mm,
share some numbers really quick.
mm.
So I got this email over the weekend that of a study recently published study done by JAMA, and it surveyed people based on their personal experience with opioid use disorder, asking them about the different role of stakeholders in solving the crisis, government, pharma, individuals, etc. And it showed that 55% of respondents of people with lived experience
Mhm.
preferred not to have a person with an addiction marry into their families.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, so we still, and that's within people with lived experience, right? Family members, folks who have,
Right.
a direct connection to this. So imagine that number is probably much larger, right? Outside folks with lived experience. So
For real.
despite like a lot of the goodwill and a lot of the work
Mm,
that's been done, when I say, action meeting the rhetoric and the words, people still have these feelings, and it has kept us, I think, further behind the eight ball than where we should be.
mm,
For sure. I mean, I kind of put that in the bucket of not in my backyard. Anybody that's ever tried to cite a halfway house or a treatment program or a sober living in a community has heard the very innocent and well-meaning neighbor come and say, "Well, I want those people to get help, but just not, on my street." And I think that level
mm,
of stigma still exists. What's missing, I think, also, and I think this is beyond just the recovery movement, and it's something happening in our country, is that everybody is sure that they know everything. There's so much confirmation bias, and I feel like, we've kind of lost, especially around some of these recovery issues, our ability to critically think, accept new information that disagrees with any beliefs that we have or experiences that we have, because lived experience is so strong a part of many people's recovery stories. They can get myopic and think, well, this is the way, because it worked for me. But it's a large continuum. There are many pathways into it. And I just think we could all do well to look in the mirror and promise ourselves to be more open and curious about what's happening.
yeah, I feel like Ryan, in you, it's kind of in like one of the mission statements for Mobilize Recovery about it just not being linear. There's so many. It's like a rainbow of things going on. Okay, so with this partnership, which is going to be very exciting, it's going to be a big year, guys. I feel like 2026 is coming in. It's going to be coming in strong. How do you see this partnership helping to shape change beyond the treatment spaces?
Well, I think that we've seen, every year with, and I'll speak specific to Mobilize Recovery, the
Mm,
larger we make this tent, the more we get done, right? The
mm,
larger
mm,
the more outreach that we've got, the more partners that we bring in, the more times that we're able to get to the table with folks that we don't necessarily agree with and find, where our shared values and our common priorities lie, things that we can work on together. I'm much more of a person of like, let's find what we can work on together versus what we can't
mm,
work on together, because I think there's many things that we can work on together. Um, I see that we've gotten more done, and that we
mm,
as a recovery community, and not just folks in recovery, but providers, right? We have gained more power, right? Because I think that's all about that's what a movement is all about. It's about the shifting dynamics of power so that you can get more done for the people that you serve. And
mm,
so I see GXC and, not just December, but, everything that goes up towards the December,
mm,
and then everything that most importantly, what happens after December, because like I like to say, every time we show up as an organization, this isn't just a conference, right? This is more than a conference, right? And that is our intention, to carry, most importantly, those relationships that are built between advocates, providers, attendees, professionals, clinicians, to carry that with us beyond December 2026 into the real world of work and impact.
Yeah, I mean, I think of how important community and connection are in recovery, and I think that extends to our field or profession as well. I think, the science, the ever-changing science. I mean, there's no simple solutions to complex problems. They're multivariate and multi-layered. And, there's a wellness component, there's a mental health component, there's a substance use disorder component,
mm.
there's family component. There are just no, it's a long list of interrelated and interconnected parts of our field. that could do well to build on what each other are doing and kind of work together so that the best ideas are rising to the top across the different milieus and ways that we interact with people.
If he's doing that, I might just give you like, oh, he's you back? Are
I'm
you okay?
back. Yeah, when did I go out?
Oh, it's a good question. Um,
It's all right.
Wellness.
feel
Yeah,
Wellness.
I was just saying, the science is burgeoning around the interconnectedness of all these different parts of our profession around wellness and around mental health and around substance use disorder, family dynamics, environment. I mean, there are
mm,
no simple solutions to a complex problem like substance use disorder. It's multivariate, and I think we all do well to avail ourselves of the leading kind of practitioners across all those different milieus so that the best ideas can rise to the top and people can learn from each other and continue to expand back to Ryan's kind of de-siloing
mm,
notion so that we can all kind of widening the circle, I guess I would call it, not shrinking.
not a one size fits all. So I've been lucky enough to go to two GXC um, Global Exchange Events conference that are absolutely unbelievable, and you come away
Hmm.
feeling so inspired and motivated. And Ryan talking to you has like really kickstarting that fizzle of energy, like, yes, we've got this, we can do this, and like, and just bringing all those minds
And
together.
I will tell you, and it's only 9 a.m. on my coast the day after a holiday weekend. So you
I
could
didn't
tell what
even
I'd be like in the
know
middle
we
of the week. Yeah.
were doing
Yeah. Yeah.
this. I know, I've only ever
haven't
heard
even
having
haven't even had my coffee yet, you know?
oh, I've only ever heard in like super inspiring and everyone just being absolutely in awe of your energy. So we will be going, we're going to be taking this energy to Vegas, which is going to be incredible. Andrew, I want to know why Las Vegas feels like a meaningful place for GXC to be this year.
Yeah, I mean, there were a lot of reasons. I think people's first kind of reaction is kind of stigma based. You know what I mean? Like, why Sin City? To which I would say, why? Like, that's the first place we should go.
Mm,
And having an invitation from the civic leaders there who understand the issues that we're talking about are real and affect their community and our desire to go to a place where we can leave a lasting impact. I just think of all the clinicians and folks from the West Coast and that community that are going to get to benefit from this opportunity to learn, and so that's one of the biggest reasons. I think where we had the conferences in the past also made it a little bit inaccessible for people, both from a cost perspective and it's way in the corner of the country. So
mm,
switching sides, being in an airport that has lots of service to it, having hotel rooms at a reasonable rate so that a practitioner who's hung out their own shingle can afford to come is
mm-hmm.
a big piece of it. And I think those would be and Ryan's there, of course, and so
Yeah. um, yeah, I totally agree. It'll be so interesting to be on a different coast and see. I think it will just absolutely
Might I
explode.
also just say,
Yeah.
as a Las Vegas, resident, but also Las Vegas based, we're headquartered here in Vegas. Mobilize Recovery is December in Vegas is perfect. It is like
Oh,
the best. I mean, it's the best weather. It's the best scenic view of the Red Rocks. Like, I mean, it is perfect here in December. So I'm
and we
I'm
picked
thrilled. And
that
also,
We picked that
yeah,
first weekend. Like we kind of understand how the professional calendar works, and I think our great hope is that this is like the last big work weekend of the year
mm.
for folks, and people tend to unplug by December 10th and wind down towards the end of the year, and so it's kind of this carrot out there at the end of the calendar for people to look forward to and get excited about.
So I actually just came from Vegas a few weeks ago. Um, and I went to see Cirque du Soleil, which was pretty impressive. I'm very excited about going back and I'm going to book it again. It's like, um, Okay, guys. So I'm going to kind of close this up. And Ryan, I'm going to kick this off with you and the positivity that just oozes from you, which is so infectious. What gives you hope about the future of recovery?
Oh my gosh, I'm like you said, oozing. I'm oozing with hope. I'm always looking for hope, even in the craziest, sometimes most negative times, like we had last week.
Mm.
But what gives me the most hope is seeing new people get engaged.
Mm.
It's getting phone calls from folks who I've never met before who believe in this work. And you can tell my puppy has a lot of hope too. If you could hear him, he's barking in the background.
No, where is
Yeah,
he?
he's in the corner over there. But in all honesty, like there was a time when like I felt like the space was limited, and this was like early in my advocacy days. Like I'd be talking to like the same people all the time, and I still talk to those folks.
Mm.
But the world has gotten so much larger, in terms of our work, and I think in terms of the recovery movement. I'm seeing things done that I couldn't have imagined, 10 years ago. We're engaging with new folks every single week who are curious about what not just recovery is, but how they can get more involved beyond their personal recovery to help others. And that
Mm.
gives me hope too, because the movement, has been around, predates me, and it will live way beyond past me. And, I think
Mm.
it's our jobs to be the best stewards of the piece of the movement that we have right now. And I think that one of the biggest things that we can do is continue to build it, and expand it and bring more people in to do not just the work, but to do the work better than we ever could have imagined ourselves doing it.
He's right. He oozes positivity. Andrew.
Well, I'm also bursting with hope about the future. One of the things we'll be celebrating at the conference is the 50th anniversary of Marty Mann's Operation Understanding, which was really the first time that 50 people who were in recovery sort of broke their public anonymity at the level of press, radio, and film. And to think that um, two people met in a lobby, and now there's millions and millions of people who have recovered. And when I think about the opiate crisis and think about the people that we lost to overdose, but on the flip side of that are the millions and millions of people that were able to enter recovery. And so there's a lot of young people in recovery that give me a lot of hope and a lot of new ways of thinking and building community that are super hopeful kind of signs for me. And whether it's, advocating for healthcare parity or being loud and proud and of our recoveries and
Mm.
letting the world know that people can and do recover from substance disorder and go on to live very productive, successful lives.
Mm.
All that is, reason enough to get up out of bed every day and fight for something and to put on an event like this to bring folks together to celebrate.
And I would say like one more, I'm going to add, because Andrew's got my mind bursting, right? Because I always talk in terms of like movement terms, right? And like the recovery movement. But I would say like above to as like an asterisk plus to everything I said before, if you were to ask the single most hopeful thing that happens to me, and it just happened last week, beyond anything Mobilize Recovery has ever done, beyond the policy, the legislation, the movement building, the community organizing, is when someone reaches out and it was like, hey, I heard you or saw you or trust you or believe that we can have a relationship and I need some help. Will you help me? That like
Mm.
brings it all down and real for me, and makes it all worthwhile, honestly. It's that one-to-one connection.
I'll
Yeah.
just close with this. I don't want to get all philosophical, but the existential question, why are we all here? And the process a lot of people go through in recovery of reducing the importance of self. I mean, I've spent my whole life wanting to be a part of something greater than myself. And the recovery movement is that thing. That is the thing that is much more important than any individual because we're so much stronger together. And oh, by the way, we can't survive without each other. So it all
Mm.
fits together so perfectly for me.
We need community more than ever. Thank you so, so much, Andrew Roberts, Ryan Hampton. As you can see, the energy of the two of them together knows no bounds. So Vegas is going to be huge. It is going to be inspiring. It is going to be motivating. It is going to be packed full of some of the most incredible minds in the country who want to lock together and make this change happen and turn it into action. So this partnership is so exciting. Check out Mobilize Recovery, check out Ryan, and don't forget to get your tickets to GXC Live in 2026 and come join us
Let's
in
go.
Vegas. Thank
Thank you
you.
both.